You're listening to the Jōrni Podcast. Trying harder might be the very thing holding you back. In this episode, we stop trying and start doing, so stay tuned for some magic. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer, and with decades of experience with sadness, pain, anxiety, and stress, I finally figured out how to leave all that behind. And this podcast shows you how to break free permanently so you can reclaim your sanity and find the self-esteem and energy to go after the life you desire. With real talk about mental health, holistic healing, and the tough journey of coming out the other end. This is the Jōrni Podcast. Welcome to today's episode. In this episode, we explore why putting in more effort doesn't always lead to better outcomes and how this mindset can trap us in frustration and burnout. Drawing from her extensive experience, our guest shares a fresh approach to breaking free from perfectionism and focusing on what truly creates progress. Carla Ondrasik is the creator of the No Try philosophy and author of Stop Trying, the life-transforming power of trying less and doing more. She has spent over 2 decades sharing her message through research, speaking engagements, mentoring, and writing. A former VP of Creative Writer Development at EMI Music, Carla placed hit songs with legends like Barbra Streisand, Cher, Mariah Carey, Christina Aguilera, and many others, contributing to millions of records sold worldwide. She continues to mentor aspiring musicians while promoting her philosophy to businesses, women's leadership groups, and schools. Carla has 2 adult children and lives in Southern California with her husband, John, and is an avid swimmer. Here is my interview with Carla Ondrasik. Hi, Carla. It's so great to have you on the podcast today. I've been looking forward to getting to chat with you because quit trying and start doing is such a great mantra or motto, I even want to say, that I really look forward to exploring because I feel like this trying society can weigh really heavily on our well-being. And let's talk about that and see where we get with that. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. And I am so excited to talk about not trying with you today.
Sounds great. I look forward to it. And for starters, Carla, would you like to share a little bit about yourself maybe and your story, your journey, so that our listeners can get to know you a little bit and hear about what you have been up to and what has brought you here today?
Well, my previous career was in music publishing. I was the vice president of creative writer development for EMI Music, which at the time was the biggest publishing company in the world. And I had such a fascinating and exciting career where I worked with songwriters and I placed songs with recording artists. So I gave songs to Barbra Streisand and Mariah Carey and newer artists, Christina Aguilera. I worked with Earth, Wind, and Fire. That was great. And the biggest gift that I got out of that career was I discovered a singer-songwriter, and I signed him up as a publisher, and then I developed him as an artist and got him a record deal. And he performs under the moniker 5 for Fighting. There's no 5, there's no fighting. He's had a couple of really big hits. And then we got married, and we have 2 children, Johnny and Olivia. They are adults now, and they're launched and living beautiful lives. Prior to my later life in my career, I was raised in New York, and I had a really fun upbringing, but a very unconventional one. My father was a gambler. And that led to a lifestyle of just really being on your toes and really being ready for anything. And anything did happen, let me tell you. So I feel like that has so much to do with who I am today. And I really mined the gold from my past. And I feel like I've really been able to share now all of the lessons that I've learned, and not trying is a big part of that. I had my career, and then I stopped working and raised my kids, but the whole time just kept working on my passion of not trying, which brings me to today, where here I sit before you, just really officially and formally sharing everything that I've learned and continue to learn.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And it sounds like you've had actually a wonderful journey and a very fulfilling journey to this point. And, it makes me think a little bit about when you say not trying. Often we would equate that with not succeeding. When people don't try, we're often told, well, if you don't try, you won't ever succeed. So it looks like in your story that has not happened whatsoever. So, how do you kind of bring that together when society really has this vision of people that don't try will never succeed? How do you work with that? And what are your thoughts about that?
Okay, so first I want to say millions of us know the saying that Yoda from Star Wars, do or do not, there is no try. Many of us know that, but nobody has ever stopped and said, why? What's wrong with trying? Why do you say do or do not, there's no try? That's really what I strive to do. And I think you have to get down to the basics, which are, what do we believe trying to mean? And what does it really mean? You can still try as long as you're conscious and very aware of what it means to try. So, number one, we believe, as you said, you won't get anywhere if you don't try. You'll never succeed. We believe that trying is doing. We believe that trying is making efforts, and trying is brave, and trying is action. But in reality, trying is anything but those things. Trying is, in the dictionary, it says trying is an attempt or effort to do something. But in my favorite world, if I could change the dictionary definition to what it truly means, and in answer to your question, why we shouldn't do it and why it doesn't work, is trying is a half-hearted attempt or an effort to do something. Trying allows for excuses. It allows for blame. It actually puts failure right out front. When you say you're going to try, you're already assuming you may not succeed. So you're giving the focus to failure. And then one of the worst things about trying is that there's no accountability. If you say, oh, I'm going to try to do this and you don't, well, there's no consequence because you only said you would try. So I think it's really defining the true definition of what it means to try. And we can talk about why we try in the first place, but that's really breaking it down to the beginning.
That's really interesting that you say that. And thank you for explaining that difference, because when we were chatting before our interview, I inadvertently said it was a trying time. And you said that actually has a fairly negative connotation. And I had never even realized that until you pointed that out. I think there is an air of failure attached to trying that most people, including myself, probably don't even realize that that's there. Why is it then so common to say, oh, good try, or it's good enough that you tried, or we'll just try and see where we get to? These are really common things that I guess open up the door to having no expectations for that to succeed. Why is that so common then? And why do we, I almost want to say, let people off the hook by letting them try?
Yeah, it's a great question. So why do we try in the first place is what you're really asking, which is we're taught to try from a very young age. We're taught to try your best, try harder, give it a try, just try it. And I really believe that that is not powerful. We teach our children to try when we should be and could be saying, do your best, because it's a completely different mindset and it's a completely different set of actions when you do versus try. Your brain goes down one path of trying, which is that half-hearted effort. I don't really have to do it. So what's happening is we're tricking and fooling ourselves, by the way, when we're talking about, say, oh, I'm trying to start a podcast, or I'm trying to become a vegetarian, or I've been trying to design a line of clothing. So when you're talking about what you're trying to do, you're tricking your brain into feeling like it's doing. That's really scary. So your brain releases neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin and adrenaline. And you get those hits, you get those really good feel good feelings of, oh, look at all the things I'm trying to do. Your brain can't differentiate to whether you're actually taking the action or not, right? For some people, they never get past that. That feeling is enough for them and they never take the action. And we can talk later about what happens when you don't take the action, all the collateral damage when you keep trying. But right there is why we feel like we're being kind and we're being supportive when we say, oh, just at least give it a try to do it. But I don't think that's kind or supportive. When somebody comes to you and is asking for help, I think what they're asking for is some clear, determined action that you can take to accomplish your goal. There's so many reasons why we try, but those are a few of them.
It's really fascinating. And in your experience, is trying also a form of maybe protecting ourselves from a fear of failure and having to actually succeed at something when we think we might not be able to? I feel like it could also be a protective mechanism in a way that we cope with pressure of wanting to do something but not being sure if we can do that.
Yeah. So there are so many reasons that we try. And number one, as I mentioned, is a lot of times it's not our fault. We've been taught to try. So we unconsciously believe that we're doing. So I like to say the problem isn't that you aren't trying hard enough. So for everybody listening right now, yeah, I try really hard. The problem isn't you're not trying hard enough. I'm sure you're trying with your whole heart and soul. The problem is that you're trying in the first place. So if you can disrupt that and just change that one word, because that your words direct your actions, they communicate to your brain what you're going to do. So if you can change that word, but we try, of course, because we're afraid of so many things. So I'm going to tentatively give it a try because I'm afraid, what if I fail? Well, if you fail, there is the beauty and the gift of all the lessons that you get from failure. Unless you jump in and start doing and set yourself up for failure. It's the greatest thing you can do. We try because we're so afraid of failure. But if you can look at failure as a positive thing, then you'll have nothing to fear. We try because it's basically procrastination. We're just putting something off. Okay, I'm going to try to do that. But it can actually be life-threatening. Oh, I'm going to try to get around to making that dermatologist appointment. Okay. Some people can procrastinate and try to get around to making that appointment for a year. And by then you get there and you might have a possible skin cancer. We try, oh, I'm going to try and reach out to my friend that lives in France. And you never make the phone call because you get waylaid and you get interrupted. And it's because you didn't say, I'm calling them today. But as long as you stay stuck in that trying world, it's a safety zone where you don't have to take action and you can use excuses and blame and pull out anything that you want to do. So that's some of the reasons that we try. We worry about what people will think of us. Okay. When we say we're going to try to do something, instead of saying we're going to do it, we want to pull back because we're so worried about what other people will think. So, a million reasons why we try.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I can definitely see some of those negative consequences that you were talking about just before when we are stuck in this trying mode. I guess also there is a part where we don't need to take any personal accountability for just trying because we kind of expect it to just go sideways. So there's a safety in that as well. In your own life, in your own career, Carla, were there times that you tried, or have you always been a doer and you have had this no try policy right from the get go, from the way that you were raised? Or were there some times where you tried and you've gathered some of that personal experience? And what was that like and what happened?
Okay, so just stepping back for a second to what we were just saying about why we try, and which will lead me to my life, but the society that we're in now, the world that our children and young adults have been growing up with is we want everything faster, better, and easier. And it has become faster, better, and easier to attain things. Our mindset is, well, I'm going to throw out a try because that's easy, that's fast, it's simple. So we have grown up, many of the young generation, with this trying mindset faster, better, easier. Doing causes you to slow down and to focus and take determined action, which is where I grew up, my generation of much slower paced. So I feel like I was born this way, irrelevant to my upbringing, but my upbringing definitely had a lot to do with it. I remember being a little girl, probably fourth grade, and there was a contest to win a book. It was about the environment. Now, what fourth grader really cares about a book on the environment? I just wanted to win the contest. That was me. And I said, I'm going to walk up on that stage and accept the book. It was my vision, creative visualization. It was my mindset. It was my intention. And look, when my friends were out playing or whatever, I was probably working on what I had to do to win the competition. And I won. I did it. So I've always been this way. But then, of course, when you grow up with the childhood that I had, there were some times where it's sink or swim. It's survive or not. And there are times in our life when we're given the option to try. And there are times in our life when we're not. For me, I had to just make decisions where I was going to survive and thrive. If you think about, we already kind of, all of us know that we have the option to not try and we choose not to try. If you have children and they're of driving age and they're going out on their first solo drive, you don't choose to say, well, try and drive carefully. You say, drive carefully, stop at those stop signs, do not turn the radio on, do not drive distracted. You don't say, try to drive carefully, try to stop at the stop sign. So we already know it's in there. We don't go to a bank that says, well, we're going to try and track your money. We'll try to have it available to you. We'll try to make sure that this is what we do. We do it better than anybody else. So we already know trying is not a good option. And we choose to not try sometimes where we choose in other areas of our life. But I think for me, I was really just always pushed into the direction of doing my career that I chose. Basically, I was creating something from nothing. I was taking even something intangible, which is music, and selling it. How do you sell something intangible? And I had to use a doing mindset, like full stop. And that's what creates leaders. And that's what creates success. People that are trying, they don't climb that ladder of success and reach president level and director level. And those are the people that are doing what they say they're going to do. They're not trying to close the deal. They're closing the deals. They're not trying to get those reports into you on time. They're getting the reports. They're not trying to network and meet new people. They're meeting and expanding their network. So I had to employ a lot of doing, creative doing, thinking outside the box in my career. And I think we can all do that in whatever careers we're in. You have to think about, well, wow, where am I trying here? Why am I stuck? Where am I not putting in the doing effort? And that's where that one word switch comes in and really is powerful.
It sounds very powerful. And I love the examples that you've given because if we all kind of think along those ways of, oh, I'm going to try and get some sleep today, I'm going to try and eat some food today, eventually you're going to starve or you will die because you're not taking care of yourself. So we already know that doing is the way that we actually need to be in order to take care of ourselves and be healthy. So it makes sense to extend that to the rest of our lives. What are some of the things that you would tell our listeners if they're stuck in a trying mindset, or maybe that's the way they were raised and that's all that they know, or there might be a lot of fear around actually saying, I'm going to do this, because they may have never done that before. What are some of the first steps that they can take to become aware of what's happening and find their way out of that to a doing mindset?
The first thing I would say is it's great that you're here and listening to this. So it's to become aware of the difference between trying and doing. And I'm not talking about semantics, where if I'm holding a cup of coffee right now and I could say, I'm going to try to take a sip, I'm going to take a sip. That's the semantics, right? I'm talking about the events in your life, your health, your happiness, your relationships, your careers. We try in all of those areas of our life. So, number one, become aware. Number two, have fun with this. I mean, if you attach fun to anything, you're more likely to do it. It's like, today, I'm going to notice one thing, one area, one thing I've been trying to do. Have fun and start small. Okay, I have been trying to clean the glove compartment out of my car, which is stacked with protein bars and napkins and tissues and wrappers and receipts. So, you know what? I have been trying to get to cleaning that. I'm going to do that today. I'm going to do that this afternoon. Set a little time limit, pick something small and do it. And you are going to be amazed at how amazing you feel and how accomplished you feel. It's like, wow, I've been jamming that thing closed for the last 6 months. I just cleaned it out. It looks so beautiful. I feel so proud of myself. And what happens is it inspires you to want to do again. There's a really great quote. I can't remember who said it, but it was that we think that you have to be motivated to take action. Okay, I'm trying, I'm stuck in that mode, and I need the motivation to get me to want to do. It's the opposite. Action actually motivates you. So take the action first. If it's a relationship that you've been trying to work on, do something to make that relationship better. You take the first step, you make the phone call, you write the note card and mail it. So anyway, I would say there's so many steps and it's all in the book. I have soulful solutions and trailblazing tips, like real rock solid things that we can apply. But having fun, being aware, and starting small would be your first step. And you are going to just go, wow, I like that. I want to do that again.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing those tips with our listeners. And as you mentioned, I can tell that you're really passionate about this and that you grew up in this way as well as a doer. So you have written a book about this now. And at the time that this will air, I think it will be available for pre-order. But tell us a little bit about your book and the title of it and how that came about and how your experiences in your own life and in your career came together in this book that you wrote.
So I'm very excited. The book is called Stop Trying. And the tag is, it's the life transforming power of trying less and doing more. And it comes out September 23rd. Mel Robbins has done my front cover endorsement for the book. I believe she says lots of books promise change, but Stop Trying is the change. And for me, oh my gosh, she agreed and committed to do that before the Let Them theory came out. So I couldn't be more proud and excited to have Mel Robbins' endorsement of this book. And the book is really broken into much like our talk today. So what do we think trying means? What does it mean? Why do we do it? How does it hurt us? And how do you move into a life filled with doing and all the tools and everything? So that's the book.
It sounds wonderful, and congratulations on birthing. So I feel like this is almost a culmination of your life and how that's played out in your own journey. And now you're opening that up and sharing that with the world. So what a wonderful accomplishment. Congratulations on that again. And I feel like there are a lot of valuable nuggets in there for listeners and readers that will come to read your book. Do you offer any tips for them as well in there to kind of move from this trying mindset to the doing mindset?
Yeah, the whole book is about moving. And it's written in a really fun way with lots of real world examples and scientific research. And I also want to say that this book, I'm very transparent. I mean, I'm 61 years old. To be doing this at my age, I think it's pretty great and it's pretty inspiring because it shows you can do at any age of your life. And it was just very organic. It was almost as if I couldn't not do this. The situations and the universe just kept pushing me into this place of, Carla, you have to share this message. And I had a lot of fun doing it. And for the older listeners to experience those feelings of fear, I'm terrified. I'm doing things I've never done before. And excitement and pride is incredible. Later in life, to be feeling like I was feeling when I was in my 20s is really, really great. So there's another reason to pick up whatever dream you had and start doing it now. The success doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just doing it and you'll experience those feelings is what really matters.
I love that. And thank you for sharing that. I feel like there's a bit of a mindset that when you hit a certain age, there are things that you can't or shouldn't do anymore. And I love that you're saying go for it anyways. Stop trying and just do whatever it is your dream is. Do what you want to accomplish. It does, even as you're talking about that, create feelings, even in myself, of just real happiness and gratitude to have some of those opportunities and to sit there and think, okay, I don't have to just live in a box and do things as I'm expected to. I can choose, and I can choose new things, different things, things that scare me sometimes, but I want to do them anyways. And I can do that at any age. So thank you for sharing that. I feel like that's a little bit of a pickup and reassurance for our listeners that, go for it and stop wasting time on trying. It's not going to get you where you want to go. So go and do it. And then you can also pre-order Carla's book, which will be out for pre-order. We'll put all of that information in the show notes and have a look at the amazing nuggets that will be in that book as you are stopping to try and starting to do, as Carla says. So thank you very much for sharing that. And also, you mentioned a little nugget that you have on your website for our listeners as well, where they can take a test and let them know a little bit about that as well.
Okay, so yes, if you go to my website, stop-trying.com, and sign up for the newsletter, you will get the Try Baby test. And a little fun story I've never even shared with anyone was how I even came up with Try Baby. When I was working on the book, I was in a hotel in Hawaii and I was sound asleep. And this word just dropped down into my brain, try baby. Like a crybaby is the people they're unhappy and they're complaining and they're sad. So a try baby is someone who is trying and just complaining and talking about all the things they're trying to do, and they want to elicit sympathy and empathy. And they're the ones that are just going to stay stuck in that gerbil wheel of trying and just wanting all of our sympathy. If you're a try baby, you can take this test, and it's a really nice introduction for you to just question yourself. Like, well, do I do that? Do I do that? It'll really get you to a great starting point. So if you go to the website, you can take the try baby test.
I love that too. When I first heard that term, I had to smile. It's such a great term. So anyone
Fun.
listening who feels inspired, please go and take the Try Baby test and see what comes up for you. And you know what? I just want to also say at this point, I know there might be some fears around actually admitting that you've been just trying, because it absolves us of some kind of personal responsibility or having to actually say at some point, that didn't really work out how I thought it would, and take responsibility for that. But in the end, you're going to feel so much better, I think, just doing things, even if they go sideways. And believe me, things have gone sideways for, I'm sure, Carla, for myself, for any number of guests I've had on the podcast. It's just a normal part of being human and living life and experiencing things. So don't let that fear hold you back from doing. And Carla, you want to chime in here? I think you want to chime in on that.
No, I love what you're saying. You're expressing this in such a great way. Keep going with whatever you were saying, because we're all human. Absolutely. But if you don't do, you can replace that. If you don't try, you'll never know. It's what you're saying. If you don't do, you'll never know. If you don't really take the action and get out of your head and stop thinking about and half-hearting your way to these things that matter to you, you'll never know. And I'm excited to fail. So whatever's stopping you, just look at it a different way. And I don't know how much time we have left, but I'll offer one thing that seems apropos right now. If you're that person that's sitting there going, yeah, I am afraid, and there are things I've been trying to do that I want to do, my number one tip is the power of silence. Don't tell anyone. Don't share it. Just keep it personal for yourself and start taking those little steps. If you don't tell anyone, then you don't have to be scrutinized by them or open to their criticism or explain anything, change your mind. Just very quietly, power of silence, go about your business, start doing. And that's another way that will make it a little more gentle start for yourself.
Well, thank you for that. That is so beautifully said. And what a powerful nugget to wrap up with. Thank you for sharing that. I do feel like we have this pressure to share our entire lives on social media. For we get a haircut, we have breakfast, we make a smoothie, whatever it is, we feel compelled to have to share that. So that could be a nice, gentle way, as you said, to just have something for yourself and give it that shot at doing, and actually pick something, maybe like Carla said, a small thing like the glove box, or just cleaning out a closet or a kitchen, or something you haven't gotten around to that you've been trying to do for a number of months or years, and just go for it. And you don't need to tell anyone, and you can just savor that feeling after it's done and have that it actually brings a real joy and a sense of accomplishment, I feel, when you do things and then they come to a close. So take that, and also don't be afraid. If you consider something as a failure, I think we can look at it as just lessons that you are learning in life. They're not always positive. Some of them will be negative, but you're still going to walk away with life experience. You're still going to walk away with having done something, having felt something, having experienced something. And I think that's what it's all about. So thank you so much, Carla, for being here and sharing today with us. I so much look forward to your book. I'm going to jump off and pre-order that. And listeners, if you get a chance and you'd like to read Carla's book, we'll be linking to the pre-order in the show notes as well. If you want to take the Try Baby test, we're going to link to that as well. And I just want to thank you again, Carla, for being here and sharing that today.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed our talk.
Absolutely. The world needs to hear more of just not so much trying and more doing. So thank you for putting that out there. And thank you for this amazing work that you do, Carla. Take really good care of yourself.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Jōrni Podcast, please support us by subscribing, sharing on social media, and leaving us a review. We appreciate you. And you can find more of The Jōrni on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and our website, thejorni.com. Sending you love and courage, and see you next time.